Welcome back to another edition. About a little over 3 years ago, when I started the podcast, my very first podcast was on what is financial therapy. And that remains today to be the most popular segment that I have done. And I thought, it might be good to revisit that introduction and talk about the evolution of financial therapy. And I thought I would would talk about what it is, would talk about what's changed in the last 3 years around financial therapy and its evolution. And maybe take a look at what's next, because there are some things that are on the horizon for financial therapy that were not envisioned 3 years ago. So, and I spent a lot of time in that particular episode and talking about my history and how I became so interested in financial therapy, how I became a co-founder of the evolution, and just some of my personal history. And I won't go into that on this particular episode, because you can go back to episode 1 and listen to that. So I want to start with what is financial therapy? What are the nuts and bolts of this thing? And I think I've related this story before, that when I'm traveling, I write. I think my all-time record was 9 episodes on a flight. I think that was a flight to Hong Kong. Or not episodes, but 9 columns. And so usually I'm not interested in being really chatty with my seat partner, if I have one. And if they ask me what I do and I really want to be left alone, I'll tell them I'm a financial advisor, and that usually stops the conversation cold. But if for whatever reason I kind of feel like talking and having some connection with someone, I'll tell them I'm a financial therapist. And that usually is pretty good for a conversation, because the immediate response is, financial therapy, what's that? I've never heard of it. And I like to describe it as, well, there's 2 basic disciplines. There's your financial advisors, your financial planners are in one camp, say on the left. And you have your behavioral change specialists, your psychologists, therapists in another camp on the right. And there's really nobody in the middle. And what we know is that the research shows 90% of all financial decisions are made emotionally. And the financial planning profession is all about the dollars and cents, and the behavioral mental health profession is all about the psychology and the emotions. But neither one of them really cross-pollinate with each other. And that leaves 90% of the people in the middle without anybody fully bringing the full experience of making money decisions to us, of helping us with our money decisions. There's nobody in the middle. And that's what financial therapists do. They combine finances with therapeutic interventions. So that's the long and short of what it is. Financial therapy is becoming a really specialized practice that integrates these two disciplines, that integrates the emotional and psychological aspects of personal finance with looking at the emotions surrounding our thoughts, our behaviors, the stories that we tell ourselves, the actions that we take financially, or the inactions that we're taking. And we know that financial literacy by itself is not 100% of the answer of moving forward when we have a financial behavior that's not serving us well. In fact, and I don't have research on this, but just with my experience, I'm guessing that 80% of all lack of progress that we might make on a specific financial behavior is about the underlying emotional roots that drive the financial behavior, not cognitive lack of knowledge. So, as you've heard me say on the podcast many, many times, that it's not about more knowledge. Money problems are usually not about gaining more knowledge. Now, that is a great place to start. If you're having a financial behavior that is not serving you well, it could be overspending, it could be undersaving, or even oversaving. And yes, you can underspend too. Managing debt, estate plans, a fear of investments, or doing too many risky investments. It's unlimited what the causes can be. The first thing to apply to that is knowledge. If you can learn more about how money works, how mutual funds work, how life insurance works, how estate plans work, how the legal system works, how the economy works, all of these things can inform and indeed help us then change our behavior because we didn't have the information. So information is important. The challenge lies that oftentimes the information doesn't move the needle. And that's where we can get locked into a series of doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results, which would be reading books. Well, I guess I need to take another course on investing. I need to take another course on budgeting or creating spending plans because the last one didn't work. I still need more knowledge. And this is something to really pay attention to if you see yourself in this loop. And I think especially if you see yourself telling yourself that you really don't understand this stuff or you really can't get this stuff, that can often be kind of a part of us that can be blocking that absorption of the information for very good reasons, for very good reasons, not blocking us from absorbing the information in a harmful way. I mean, the result can be harmful, but not with the intent of harm, but with the intent of protecting a really vulnerable part and not revisiting some pain in the past. So the emotional part of solving financial problems is really, really important and often overlooked in financial literacy. I recently was given the opportunity to write a chapter in a book on financial literacy. And as I kind of looked at the suggested topics, I didn't see anything in the outline on emotions and working with our emotions and the impact that addressing financial trauma and emotional blocks has on financial literacy. I think if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you're familiar with Ebenezer Scrooge. I co-authored a book on the financial wisdom of Ebenezer Scrooge and how he was just blocked from seeing the present. He just couldn't see what was happening, the actions. He just couldn't absorb the present, basically. And it was not until the ghost of Christmas past took him into his past and he was able to view all sorts of scenes from his past and re-experience and feel the emotions that had been shut down and blocked for so many decades that he was able to go with the ghost of Christmas present and now start assimilating what was or what is in that case. So, again, in describing financial therapy, unlike traditional financial planning, which focuses primarily on strategies and numbers, financial therapy dives deeper into the emotional experiences, the money beliefs, the money scripts, the stories that we tell ourselves, and the traumas and financial traumas we've had that shape how we hear, how we receive, how we apply all the cognitive knowledge around money. So we explore issues like money anxiety, what's coming up, what's around that anxiety, financial avoidance. Why am I avoiding money? Why do I not want to look at my bank statements? Why do I not want to look at my net worth statement? Compulsive spending. As one client told me just recently, the money comes in and the money goes out. The money comes in, the money goes out. Clients that have felt panic when money is in their checkbook. One person told me, I am so anxious. If money hits my checkbook and stays there, I've got to get rid of it. Well, you might say, if you can't relate to that, well, that sounds pretty illogical. I mean, hello? Why would anybody want to get rid of it? That's the problem. Well, when you delved into this person's story and understood that getting rid of it, I don't think I'm going to tell you the whole story right now, but getting rid of it was actually survival for her. She couldn't have money in her account or she would be abused. Those behaviors many times don't change when our physical body moves into adulthood because our mental makeup, those young wounded parts of ourselves, often are kept locked away by protective parts of ourselves that don't want to get close to triggering those memories. And they get locked into a behavior that did a lot of good in that particular time in their life, but no longer served them well. And these are things that are not addressed in a financial planner's office. You just don't get to these things. Oftentimes you don't even know they exist. So we explore those. We explore conflicts with partners or conflicts with kids or parents over money issues. And they are ubiquitous. Um, what did money look like in your family of origin? Who had money? Who didn't have money? What were the money scripts? What were the stories? What were the family stories? Uh, in IFS language, we refer to these as legacy burdens. What were the generational money scripts, the generational stories around money that were handed down that you learned to assimilate or just became part of your fabric as a young person? So all of this is there. And financial therapy can help us address both immediate financial concerns that are in today, that are affecting me today, and also the deeper emotional obstacles that is preventing that sound decision making happening today. So I hope that's a reasonable description of financial therapy, and I know it's a lot more than what I said in my original episode on this, because I've used up 2/3 of my time already on that. So let's take a look now at who needs financial therapy. And this one is a pretty easy answer for me. I will say anybody who feels stuck around a financial decision can probably benefit from financial therapy. I did some episodes with Britt Frank, who's author of the book on the science of stuck. And we talked about what it means to be stuck and processes of getting unstuck. And so those might be some episodes you'd be interested in going back and listening to. So to put it in maybe more clear verbiage, if you're struggling with your relationship with money, and even when I heard relationship with money the first time, I'm like, what? It just kind of went over my head. And I had done enough recovery and therapy that I understand a person's relationship with nicotine. I understand a person's relationship with alcohol. I understand a person's relationship with food, and all of these potential addictions or things that can foster problematic behaviors. But I had never heard of a relationship with money. And every one of us has a relationship with money. Oftentimes when I'm speaking to folks, I'll say, I'm going to flash a word up here on the screen, and I want you to write down the first thoughts that come to mind, and maybe even just the first feelings that you feel that come up for you. And then I flash the word money up on the screen. And typically, I would say 2/3 of the audience will have predominantly negative words that they have written down, and a third may have predominantly positive words. And I ask those, as you look, the attendees, as you look at those words, and if this was describing your condition of your romantic life, what condition is it in? Well, of course, 2/3 of the people said it is not good, right? So that's what I mean by your relationship with money. Is your relationship, when you think about money, one of chronic financial stress, just persistent feelings, 24/7 or 18/7 or 12/7, just feelings of anxiety that come up, uh, continual feelings of fear about finances. And I want to stress that anxiety and fear and financial stress has nothing to do with your income level. Now, even as I say that, I hesitate. I kind of feel some twinges around that, because it's like, well, if you don't have any money, that can be very, very, very stressful. So I'm not talking about being safe, being secure, having enough food, having good shelter, having clothing. I'm talking about the income level, because we know that there are people with very, very low incomes that don't feel stress around their money, that have food, have shelter, are safe. So they're not necessarily tied together. There is a relationship, but they're not necessarily exclusive of one another. But probably more surprising to some of you is you can have an income of $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, name however many million you want, and have persistent feelings of anxiety and fear about finances, feelings that will keep a person up at night, that will just keep them wrapped up in chronic financial stress. So it's not about the money. It's about the stories. It's about what parts of us believe about where we are, what's happening in our lives, the fear around what does it mean if I don't have money or if I don't have a certain income, which can just have unlimited messages and stories wrapped up in them, which can cause us a lot of stress. I've told this before. I once had a client that made around $5 million a year, and his net worth was minus $3.5 million. And I've had clients who live in America on almost nothing, that are very, very happy and very satisfied. So it's just not about the income level. Another indicator of needing financial therapy would be financial trauma. And financial trauma is more specifically experiences of financial instability. A bankruptcy can be a bankruptcy in childhood that your parents went through. It can be a job loss, your job loss, or a job loss of a parent that you witnessed. It can be raised in poverty. There's so many things that can happen that are actual financial trauma that has never fully been processed. There was an adult with us when that happened to make sense of it. And it's really necessary to go back and take a look at these traumas and work with those parts of us that were so vulnerable and wounded. Money conflicts in relationships, disagreements or tensions with a partner, a spouse, family members over finance, financial decisions, financial values. All of this, again, is so common in our society. And a lot of financial therapy is done with couples that just are not on the same page. And I have co-authored a book on that called Coupleship Inc. And it's kind of a do-it-yourself guide for couples around financial therapy with kind of introduces some IFS theory into it that can be a place to start. If you have financial disorders, problematic behaviors, compulsive spending, financial enabling of kids, maybe you have adult kids that you're supporting, you have a hunch maybe this is not good for them, you have parts that hoard, or you chronically underspend. You may not even be aware of these behaviors because they're so much a part of you. So just raising your awareness to these can be helpful, that, wow, I didn't even realize I was an underspender, that the food I eat is not healthy even though I can afford more. The place that I live in is not safe even though I could afford more. What's behind all of that? And then just being in a life transition is somebody else that can use financial therapy. Major financial shifts like divorce or an inheritance, sudden money that comes in, can be extremely stressful and can be so beneficial to visit what's going on through a therapeutic lens. Retirement is a big transition, huge transition that people typically underestimate. Can benefit from financial therapy. So all of these are folks going through these that could benefit from financial therapy. And it can also benefit individuals who aren't in financial trouble, but you just want to improve your overall relationship with money. Go deeper, address emotional challenges from early childhoods or experiences from past financial traumas. Sort of continuing to peel the onion. You don't have to be in crisis to benefit from financial therapy. In fact, I was doing a session with my financial therapist, not my financial therapist, my therapist this week. And I revisited some financial trauma in my past that I've worked on plenty of times, but I got an even deeper understanding and nuance from revisiting that. So it can just be part of maintaining a healthy relationship with money. Well, I'm going to end this session here. Next time we get together, I'm going to talk a little bit about who provides financial therapy and how to find a financial therapist and what to expect from financial therapy. So thank you for joining me. You can reach out to me at rick@rickkaler.com. I've referenced some of the books that are resources for you. And I also blog, typically will have a blog on advanced well-being. I don't know if they're coming out once a month or how often they come out. But and then I have a weekly blog at kalerfinancial.com that's on more oriented toward personal finance, but always with an eye toward the emotional underpinnings of that information. So thanks for joining me. I look forward to being with you next week.